All right, I'm sorry we have to start it this way, but Dark Souls 1 gets good. It's good, it's a really fun game, but there's no omnidirectional rolling, meaning you can only roll up, down, left, or right. Obviously, the interconnectivity of the world is incredible, but it's also for the first half. The second half of the game is just not it. It's not horrible, but after ONS, everyone knows it takes a steep drop off. And honestly, if you go and play any of the games down here at the bottom, and then you go back to this game, you're gonna be like, it feels difficult just because it feels like your character can't even move. Like, it almost feels like rolling is not, like, I don't know. It's something about the rolls are just really slow, and it feels like they almost don't work. It just feels very clunky. And when I went back and played it recently for like the third time or something, it was by far my least favorite. Even though I think objectively it's not the worst one, I don't know, there's a lot that's wrong with it, but it was also a newer game. But, you know, the story and the interconnectivity, and I love the weapons, I love the boss weapons, I love the bosses, even though I think they're a little bit too easy. Obviously, the DLC is great, but yeah, and bosses are the most important to me personally, and, you know, obviously the areas and everything, but the bosses not being super difficult, even though they were great, was an issue for me. But either way, I'm going to put this here just for now. We'll see. Oh, also, let me move these to not applicable because this is the original, this is the original, this is the original, and I didn't play these. I played Remastered, I played Scholar of the First Sin, and then I played the PS5 for Demon Souls. So next we got Dark Souls 3. I'm going to put it in Incredible because of the bosses, and the gameplay just feels really fluid and good, and it felt very satisfying. It was the first of the Dark Souls, I guess you can say Bloodborne, but of the 3 Dark Souls games, the first that felt really satisfying to roll and very smooth. But the bosses are it has the best bosses in the series, including Elden Ring. I don't care. It has the best by far, which is why it gets up there. But also, I think it would be near perfect, if not actually perfect, if the areas were better. But the problem I have with this game is that the first like 5 areas are just they're not fun. Like, when I replay this, I dread the first pretty much half of the game besides the bosses, just because there's like 3 poison swamps at the very beginning. High Wall is good. After that, the next few areas I dread until you get to Irithyll, which that's not super fun, and it makes me not want to replay it, and it makes me run through the first half of the game every time I play it. But that's why it's there. This one, I know a lot of people aren't going to like that because they take a lot from the first game, a lot of reused, whatever. But I think this game's awesome. It's incredible. Dark Souls 2. Let's hit him with great, because people are also going to be mad, but I know they did the whole quantity over quality thing, but I think they got a lot right. And it has its own identity, which I will say is also a fault of Dark Souls 3 because they reuse a lot of stuff. It doesn't feel quite like its own thing. But Dark Souls 2, the DLC is awesome. I like a lot of the areas. It just feel like there was so much. The boss runs are god awful, and a lot of the bosses are god awful, but I think the areas are really fun. They have the most weapons of any game. And my entire first playthrough, I did not realize adaptability was a thing, so I didn't level it a single time. And when I went back, I was like, oh, this is way easier, because rolling like almost wasn't an option my first playthrough, because I didn't level it at all, which I think that's stupid. But they also had great additions. They had the bonfire aesthetic thing, where you can reset an entire area, including the boss. That is awesome. I wish they would have added that back. The Pharaoh's Lockstone, obviously they brought that back in Elden Ring as the stone sword key, I believe. I love that. In Elden Ring, it was kind of weird because it didn't feel like there were a ton of them. Dark Souls 2, it was like you didn't get a lot of the item for it, the Pharaoh's Lockstones, but there were like a lot of the actual, there were a lot of like things to do, and you didn't have the key for all of them. Elden Ring, I just used the key every time I saw a fog wall and never ran out. But either way, a lot of great additions. This game it's so much fun. I really like this game. I I understand the hate, but I think it's better. Honestly, I do think it's better. If I'm gonna be like, which one am I firing up? It's gonna be Dark Souls 2. Demon Souls. Since I played the remake, it's a lot harder for me to say because I kind of want to put it here. But at the same time, I didn't love the bosses because they're all gimmicks. But it feels really smooth. But that's also, I feel like, because it's a remake. But also, I mean, this is a remaster. But I feel like I enjoyed this game more than Dark Souls 1. But it was really short. They have kind of some, like, the world tendency thing is stupid. But this one really felt like it had its own identity. Like, it felt like its own thing. I don't really like the healing system because it felt like I had infinite heals. But the bosses are really what made it not as good. They have Maneater and, King Allant and whatever, but I may have to do this. I don't like putting Demon Souls last as of right now, but I mean, let's be honest, none of these three are going to be last. I think I'll do this for now just because it's something about the bosses that I don't like as much, even though I like the areas and the vibe of the game a lot. And magic is just really OP in this game, and I don't know. There's a lot that's just not quite right with it, but, I can give it a pass. That's the actual origin of the series. Anyway, moving on to Sekiro. I think I'm going to go here. Because the same reasons I said with Dark Souls 3, but Sekiro has some of the best some of the best bosses for sure. It has 4 endings, which is awesome. The end bosses are top tier, all of them. I think it's the most consistent because I've replayed this probably more than any of the other games, which is crazy because it's one of the last that I played. And yeah, it just does not get old. I like the additions they made. I like that there aren't crazy boss runs. There's really not anything wrong with this game except that it was a huge learning curve for me. It took me forever. And yeah, so it took a while to get the hang of it, but once I did, it's the most satisfying game. And I will say, it's pretty hard to go back and play the others after you've been playing this one. But yeah, at the beginning, this is by far the hardest, and I think it's hard to get people into it. But yes, I'm going to keep it here. I'm tempted to put it to near perfect, but we'll see. We'll see. Elden Ring, oof, obviously. It has to be near perfect. Even though I will say, I will admit, I did not enjoy this game as much as I thought I would, but it's because, there was a ton of hype and it just didn't have the same magic as the first Dark Souls games did for me, but it was just, I know the formula by now. But crazy build variety. The Ashes of War, they have so many quality of life improvements. I think it was really the bosses because the areas in this are great. I love the open world. But yeah, it felt like I didn't have a lot of reasons to fight enemies because I was already so overpowered the whole time. Like, I don't know why. After a while, I just stopped leveling because like the bosses weren't that fun. Even the harder bosses still felt way too easy. Like the big story bosses, it would take me like 2 tries, and I was like, what the hell? So that was a factor. But I think this is as good as you can get, and I know they're trying to do it for newer players. But the end bosses just weren't as great as I expected. Like the Dark Souls 3, I kind of expected them to be like this or better. But obviously they had some great ones. It just felt like some of them, it felt like I just got lucky that I just tried so many times. I just got lucky. I didn't like get good and learn the patterns. And then, but obviously there's some great ones, and this is a masterpiece for sure. It is objectively their best game. But moving on to Bloodborne, we're gonna go. I'm just kidding. I think I gotta. Okay, if it works, I think I gotta do this just because. Okay, I enjoy the setting of this game the most. I like the Victorian era, whatever the whole thing is. I like the sort of. I don't know. It's just different. It feels really unique for. Especially these games, but really any game. It feels like it has a unique identity. But the only thing that makes me iffy is because so many things in this are such a pain. If you fight a boss more than 3 times in Bloodborne, you have to go back and farm blood vials. Unless you were amazing when you first played it for some reason and didn't really use many heals. I cannot stand the finite healing system. Demon Souls is the only other one that did this, and you could get grass so easily. But Bloodborne, the blood vials were not like till the end of the game. You're not. I don't know. I struggled, and then also needing to go all the way back to the dream to rest is horrible. And I know they did that for a purpose. I looked into it, but it's such a pain, especially if you're running it on a PS4 instead of a PS5. It's slow, but this has the best areas in the series by far, and that's why it's here. I love the boss. It has incredible bosses too. Not as good as Dark Souls 3 in my opinion, just because I don't love the big beast bosses. I like them when they're a little bit more, they're a little closer to my size. But you know, like Lady Maria and like Orphan of Kos, and like it's just incredible. And yeah, obviously the DLC. But I'm tempted to switch them, but I think I'm gonna keep this here. I think Bloodborne is the best, minus those little annoying things. But objectively, I think Elden Ring is the GOAT. I mean, it has to be. But either way, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. And yeah, put your list down in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Peace.